So we're out here in beautiful North Raleigh where we're beginning our next install. This is a sunroom addition that we're doing to this house. We're removing the existing deck here today, and we're going to be digging the footings and getting this thing prepped for a footing inspection to happen tomorrow. We're going to have some complications with getting material to the backyard. The retaining wall to my left here is actually part of the driveway. There's a wrought iron fence there that's going to be getting in our way to be able to access the backyard easily. So there's going to be a lot of foot labor here carrying material from the top of the driveway to the backyard. There is a small section of stairs that we can use to carry material around that retaining wall, but it is kind of tight and it is super inconvenient for us, but that's okay. We've seen worse and dealt with much, much worse. The neighborhood that we're working in is very beautiful, so the expectations are really high to make sure that the product that we provide is just as beautiful as what belongs in this neighborhood. When doing a demo where we're having to work this high, it's particularly important to be very careful and cautious of each board that you're removing so you're not compromising any structural stability while on top of that thing removing those deck boards. Just remember, guys, when you're out doing your demos, make sure you have the correct equipment so that way you're staying safe and everything is coming down the way it's supposed to. So we got just a little bit more cleaning up to do. We did receive some material today, so that's one of the 2 orders that we're waiting on. That's staged up at the top. We still got the landing to take down. So we're gonna huff and we're gonna puff and we're gonna blow this puppy down and get it loaded in the dump trailer and call it a day. Good morning, everybody. We are on day 2 and we're starting to dig our footing. The footing is 24 by 24 and we're gonna go as deep as we possibly can until we hit solid ground. Now the reason why we do this is because we need to get below that frost level line. Now because we're in North Carolina, that's not very deep. It doesn't get that cold here. So the way you measure the density of this dirt is simply by taking a piece of rebar and probing it into the hole. But when the inspectors come out, they typically have that probe bar and they'll determine whether or not that footer is ready for concrete. So it looks like there was some existing footings here from a previous install. It butts up to the inside face of this footer. So I don't think that's gonna be a problem. If anything, it's just gonna make this footer a hell of a lot stronger. We have a downspout that comes into a drain that is pretty much right in the middle of one of our footing. So what do we do in this situation? Well, we trace that line and we relocate where that downspout is, making room for our footing. Don't worry, if one of these things is actually in your way, it's easy to just reroute it so that way it's not in your way. So during this excavation of this footer, we've hit the foundation of the house, which is a good thing because we're going to be using the foundation of the house to reinforce the new footer concrete that we're pouring for the posts that we're installing. So often engineers want you to tie these things together. When you're dealing with the foundation and adding a footer next to it, you want to bond those 2 pieces together. The best way to do that is by boring a hole, using rebar with some adhesive, and then pouring around that rebar, which is tying those 2 together so they don't move. the idea here is for us to raise this thing up to floor level. We're gonna have to start removing little segments of siding, some of the undercarriage, and just seeing what we have to do in order to get the floor frame of the deck to be able to match the frame of the house. The 45-degree angles that you see on both sides, it appears that there's no joist underneath there. It's pretty much just held up by those joists underneath the front face of it. So there is subfloor that we're seeing in those 45 angle areas, and we're pretty much just trying to figure out, okay, do we ledger up underneath that and then run our joist, which is probably the direction that we're going to take. But when you're doing an addition, there's going to be situations that you're going to have to kind of like piece and pull together in order for things to work out. So we have a finished basement underneath that. We don't want to break into any of the drywall in order to get into the floor cavity. The way that we're removing this ledger without opening up the cavity is we're going to go by and we're going to cut out each individual carriage bolt that's holding this ledger in place. So because they're carriage bolts, we're not able to access that back hex nut, and the only way for us to get this ledger off is to cut these carriage bolt heads. We love challenges, and you should too. So this is that retaining wall that I was talking about that's really preventing our access to our material. And it's not just a small retaining wall. This is the path that we need to take in order to get our material from the driveway to the backyard. So the guys just got the first segment of ledger up. That means all the flashing got done. Now they're outlining where the joists are going to be placed. 12 inches on center here on this job, because we got a 17-foot long span that these 2x12s are going to be running. Anytime we have that long of a span, we have to use this 12-inch on center rule versus the 16 on center rule, and that's going to allow you a much longer span than what 16 will. So what you're looking at here is the foundation for the house. Since we're going to be putting a footer right here, we need to tie the two together. The best way to do that is with 1/2-inch rebar. This rebar is going to be embedded into the foundation 6 inches. And then we need 6 inches that comes out of the foundation. That's going to be encased in the new footer that we pour here. And by adding 2 pieces of rebar, it's going to tie these 2 pieces together so that they don't eventually separate, causing this footer to fail. All right, we're getting a lot of stuff done here. I am very happy to see that the front 8x8 posts are finally done. We're getting the concrete poured right now, so tomorrow, by the time the guys get here, the concrete should be hardened up and we can start pulling off some of these bracing. Now, one of the things that we're gonna have to do here is we're gonna have to get the knee bracing up before we start putting anything on top of this platform. There's some blocking still left to do, some subfloor securing, the last bit of subfloor that they're going to be finishing up. But all in all, they're in a good position to start getting the roof structure started this week, which is great news. The client is definitely eager to start seeing the roof get built and to see what this thing is going to start looking like as it's taking shape. Now, as I said before, we did mention something about this bump out to the client, possibly getting it completely removed, and the client has actually agreed that that is a very good idea. So we plan on removing the entire bump out section here and building our sunroom right over the top where it used to be. Now we're gonna have to do some interior work where we're gonna have to remove some of that flooring up there and marry it into the new addition space. That's not a problem. I don't see that becoming an issue at any point of construction. So stay tuned and just see how we get this done, because you're not going to want to miss it. guys are clearing out the soffit. The rafter tails are exposed, so we can just see how much of this is going to be coming out. The bump out wall is going to be completely removed. We're going to have to do a temporary seal inside to protect the interior of the house from the outside elements while we do remove this thing. So we're going to have to get some plywood. We're going to have to put down a nailer on the floor, a nailer on the ceiling, and then nail some plywood down and then seal it up with some plastic. Now, one of the cool things about this is kind of a afterthought, right? Removing this bump out was a total afterthought, but it was definitely necessary, and you can kind of see why now more than ever. So here's the wall of the sunroom, and then here is the bump out face. I mean, you got a window pointing directly at the sunroom wall, which, you know, in my opinion, I wouldn't have been happy with that. So I immediately jumped to it, brought it up to the homeowner and said, let's do something about this. So the two options were, we were going to take this wall here, option one, and then just run this over into the sunroom wall, and this just be a flat face here rather than having that 45-degree cutout there. Keeping this 45-degree cutout here, replacing this window or this door with a window. And then this area right here would be a future slider, or I believe it was a French door that he was asking for. But instead, option two is what he ended up wanting to go with, which was going to be completely removing this entire opening, this up to a beautiful brand new slider. I think this is going to provide a few things here. It's going to give him a lot more space in the sunroom, and it's going to bring in a lot more light for the dining room, which is adjacent to the sunroom. So a lot going on tomorrow. We've got the rafters going in. We've got hopefully some sheathing done. The pitch on this roof is going to be really, really, really low, meaning probably a 1 or 2 12, maybe a 2. I seriously doubt it. We've got a 2x10 double header. We've got a 2x8 top plate. I don't think we're going to get much rise. All the rafters here are 2x10s. So we got quite a bit of rise alone from the bird mouth to the top of the rafter. So, you know, it is what it is. We're going to have probably a 112, but you know what that means is we're getting a metal roof here. That's right. Aluminum roof is going to come in, and we're going to get that done as soon as we get the sheathing up. So there's not going to be any time for delay. When it gets time to put that sheathing up, I need to have my roofer out here pretty much the next day, if not the same day. It's pretty critical with this job because we are removing this bump out, and we are introducing element intrusion to the inside of the house. So some key takeaways here is definitely want to keep this thing covered up in the meantime before the roof comes down, but we are going to vapor barrier up there. So if it does happen to rain, which is definitely not going to rain, still being protected. Now, this deck is kind of high up here. There is no stairs leading up here. So I don't have any worry of intrusion, especially in this neighborhood. It's a very nice neighborhood. So I think they're safe, but the plywood's definitely going to be there, and there's no other way around that. The garden looks nice, man. It looks very well fed.
That's what my wife wanted to put these, but the freaking deers keep coming and eating the roses.
Well, she's doing a good job. You got, what is that, azalea?
Yeah, those they come back and forth.
Yeah, mine do too. What are these, though?
They are binkies, I think. But all kind of colors. But they're supposed to be dying, but they're not dying. They look like they're frying.
Yeah, everything does. for the pony wall.
Oh.
It's looking like you're gonna be up here. It's just gonna be a small pony wall that has to go like a wall here, right? And then kind of like a little down that way.
You know, it's tricky because, you know, the water's coming from this way.
Mm-hmm. And then it's gonna come down and then hit this high section here and then push down that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's telling you to remove that section right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just followed the plans. Why? What's wrong with following the plans?
No, I was trying to figure out the creek. But yeah, it looks like the gable stopped here. But
Yeah, the gable is pretty much the soffit. The soffit goes up, and then it looks like the cricket just goes to the bottom of the soffit.
Mm-hmm. So I don't have to do the letter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I gotcha. But then, don't you need a ledger? You need. What are you hanging the rafters on?
On the pony wall. Like right here. Is the rafter, the pony wall, and make the cut. So it sits on the pony wall.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't need.
Yeah. That sounds like a very sturdy way to do it versus building the ladder. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, just enough 2x8.
Yeah.
All right. You think that this is going to be fine when we start removing this, just to have the floor there? And just remove the wood flooring, and then hopefully it's at the same height. Is it at the same height?
It should be, because I went with the corner. So it should be the same height.
Okay. Hopefully. Kind of counting on it now.
No, we can fix
How?
it.
Oh yeah, it's the little tiny ones.
It's low, we can fix it. Something. It's high with the grinder.
Well, you found where the subfloor was.
On the corner.
Okay, yeah. Then I mean, unless they have two things of subfloor,
Oh no.
right? But it looks fairly simple, man. This whole thing. It looks like it's just kind of built on after. Looks like they just left these floor joists out a little long, and then built this on top of it.
Yeah. On the basement, they have the truss.
Right.
But right here, they have a 2x10. With those LVLs, they are 9 1/4.
You're doing good. You're doing real good. Give me 5.
Thank you.
So that's a wrap for my visit today. It sounds like the guys are on a good track to get this thing totally roofed up, sheathed up by end of day tomorrow, which means I've got my roofer scheduled to be here to take measurements tomorrow, and then hopefully we can get that metal roofing ordered and delivered on time by Monday. So we should be dried in by Tuesday. That's good considering we've got rain in the forecast Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week, which could change throughout the next few days, but we'll just keep a close eye on that. We are pretty much open right now, so we got to tread carefully here. We got to make sure that we waterproof the openings. We got to make sure we do that correctly. Doing that correctly is meaning overlapping your siding with the plastic covering and overlapping your shingles with the plastic covering, taking into consideration how that water is being shed. So lots of things to take in consideration. This is a very delicate part of the process, and if you don't get this right, you could end up risking lots more damage to the house that is unnecessary, that is just going to drive your costs up. So let's just tread carefully here, make sure that we're crossing the T's and dotting the I's with our processes on site, and end up with a good product, you know? So that's the plan, and that's what we're going to stick with today. we are pretty much ready for our framing inspection at this point. We got the meeting with the electrician and the HVAC company tomorrow here, and we'll update you as soon as we find out how that goes. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can follow along the rest of this build and see what this thing looks like after we're all done.